This drinking game, unlike Get Out, is actually difficult, so drink at your own risk.
Take that warning.
Hello. Do you want to play a game?
Be food and drink and ghosts, and perhaps even a few murders. You're all invited.
Welcome to Cheers to Fears, where we combine horror and alcohol for your entertainment. Today we will be making a drinking game for Us, directed by Jordan Peele and released in 2019.
Us is about a family that goes to their summer vacation home as Mother Adelaide becomes very uneasy by the whole situation as Santa Cruz gives her bad memories of a traumatic moment in her past where she met up with a girl that is essentially her doppelganger. As the day progresses, Adelaide's worst fears come to life as her doppelganger hunts her down along with the doppelgangers of her entire family.
Before we go into the drinking rules, we should warn you that there may be minor spoilers within the rules themselves, but nothing that'll take you out of the movie or ruin it for you if it is your first time watching. With that being said, let's move on to the rules.
As always, let's start with death. For death in this movie, we counted a total of 34 sips.
Yeah, that's a whole can just for one rule. And especially with deaths, that is very unheard of on our channel.
That is almost half of the rules, or I guess the total number of sips for Get Out.
Get Out, right?
Yeah.
Literally, it's like so close. Yeah, It's insane. It's worth mentioning a lot of those scenes are mercied. So basically, more than 5 deaths in one scene, only take 5 sips. Don't take any more than that.
Yeah, we just see dead bodies on the ground. It's not like people actually getting killed, like slaughtered in every scene. Yeah. Sometimes it is, but yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, let's move on to rule number 2. Screams, cries, and yells. Anytime you hear one of those, you take a sip. And this is another high rule, giving us 22 sips.
Mm-hmm. Both of these also surpass Get Out in highest totals so far. And we're only at rule number 2.
Yeah. And I'd say this is more along the lines of average for screams, cries, and yells.
I'd say a little bit above average,
actually. A little bit above, but high teens and 20s is kind of where it falls. I'd say low 20s is a high average.
Well, let's move on to the third rule, which is whenever the tethered communicate, you take a sip. And this came to a total of 9 sips.
Yeah, one of the few rules that only has single digits for the total amount of drinks.
Mm-hmm. We warned you if you want to try this drinking game.
Yeah. Anyways, let's move on to rule number 4. It's whenever you see a mask. And this gave us 16 sips.
Yep. I guess it's probably worth mentioning that we should have just done whenever a mask is like put on or taken off. Because I'm pretty sure the little kid has a mask on in almost every scene.
Jason and Pluto, I guess, his doppelganger.
Mm-hmm. That's the other thing, yeah.
They both have masks, and yeah, we could have done whenever it was put on or taken off to make the numbers a little bit nicer. But, 16's not all that bad in the end.
Yep. What's worse than 16 is 25 sips, which is what our next rule gave us, and that's whenever you see a rabbit.
Yeah, there's a lot of rabbits. Most scenes that they were involved in, I think, were mercied, actually.
There's a few that they weren't. I know one specifically. I believe it's just like Adelaide's like little toy when she was a kid.
Oh yeah, stuffed rabbit.
Her stuffed rabbit.
So we counted that as well. And another scene that comes to mind is the end when Jason's
has
holding
a rabbit.
Yeah. There's only one there, but a lot of times it's just the rabbits in the cages when you see them, especially the opening shot, or they're just running freely in the hallways in the, I don't know, underground, underworld, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it's mercied quite often. Anyways, moving on to rule number 6, which gave us another high amount of sips. It's whenever you see scissors. And this gave us a full drink with 31 sips.
Yep, 31 sips. At this point, we are probably well over Get Out.
Mm-hmm.
But again, this is generally paired for the most part. You see them in a lot of scenes, especially a lot of doppelgangers have them together.
Exactly. And there's usually 4 or 5 doppelgangers in a scene all holding scissors. So it's like, fuck.
Yep, there's 2 families of 4, so...
Exactly.
Anyways, let's continue to the next rule. Finally, a low total. That is, if you see a flashback or hear of one, you take a sip. And that only came to 6.
Yeah, finally a low one, like you said. It's nice to take it easy with one rule. But anyways, getting right back into it with 20 sips, it's whenever you see the tethered, a.k.a. the doppelgangers, or any of them. Mm-hmm. It's, another difficult rule, I guess.
Yep, with 20... thank goodness this was pluralized.
Not every individual tethered. Let's get that out of the way.
Yeah. But again, I guess they're in pretty much every scene. Mm-hmm. So there's that, and that's probably why there's 20 of them so far.
Exactly.
Anyways, let's move on to the next rule. The second last rule is whenever you hear about others' families having nicer things. And this came to only a total of 8.
Yeah, it's another nice rule. It gives you another bit of a break. I mean, you never really get a break with this movie, but in terms of individual rules, it gives you less. It's kind of the theme of the movie, honestly. Everybody's wanting more because another family has more.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a bit of the theme of the movie. But let's go to the final rule of this drinking game. It's whenever fire is mentioned or seen, which is another nice one, only giving us 8.
Yep. And this just basically comes from Pluto, who's the pyromaniac. Mm-hmm. We might see it some other scenes. But
Jason's playing with his lighter. He rarely gets it lit, but he's playing with it too. It's always Jason or Pluto, though, for sure.
Mm-hmm, definitely. And that does it for the rules that we have for this evening. However, that total number of sips comes to 179, which is the equivalent of just slightly under 6 full drinks based off our 30 sip per can scale per 12-ounce can.
Mm-hmm.
Yikes.
So Get Out was one of, if not the lowest in terms of the amount of sips that it gave us on our whole channel. This one, I don't know if it's the very top. I don't think it is.
I'd
but
say it's at least top 5, probably.
Yep, exactly what I was going to say. And it's very difficult. But if you pair it with Get Out, I'd say the total number of drinks combined, like the average for each movie, it's pretty good. Like, it's a good double feature. Get Out's almost too easy, while this one's too hard. So it creates a nice balance where you're drinking a medium amount over the span of both films, I guess.
I guess that's the other thing about our horror movies. Sometimes during the second one, pretty much nobody continues drinking. After the first one, we all just kind of tap out, and this would be a good example why. 8 drinks in an evening is probably not healthy.
Yeah, when we're doing this, with our group of friends, if we were doing this, a lot of people would tap out for this one, or halfway through it maybe.
Oh yeah.
Especially realizing how hard it was. So
especially just a little bit harder to count rules and call them out when you're a little bit intoxicated.
Oh yeah.
Pay attention a little bit less.
Yeah, I guess it's worth saying know your own limits and
definitely.
Use your own discretion on when to stop drinking. Don't just keep drinking just for the sake of the drinking game. We want you to have fun with it. We don't want you getting sick. So
yeah. Continuing on with this drinking game, though, there were a lot of scenes that were mercied. Death, seeing rabbits, seeing scissors, with 34, 25, and 31 respectively.
Yeah, that alone gave us more sips than Get Out did,
and
which is nuts.
Yeah, pretty bad.
Speaking of rules, there was another rule that we could have added, which is basically whenever 11:11 is referenced, like the time 11:11.
Yeah.
But it's so hard to catch sometimes because it's very subtle.
It's
in
very
a lot
abstract
of ways.
sometimes.
Yes. So there's some obvious ones, but then there's some very abstract, like you said. So we decided it's just too convoluted to include. Really, in the end, it's not a fun drinking rule to have to try and hunt for them because you're going to be looking for them in any way possible.
Definitely, yeah.
Anyways, with all that being said, we hope you enjoyed our drinking game on Us. The movie, to clarify. If you end up playing the game alongside the movie, or if you have any feedback or suggestions, let us know in the comments below.
Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on the next episode, where we are going to be making a drinking game for the final Jordan Peele movie up to this point. Nope. Thanks for tuning in, and this is us saying,
Cheers to Fears.